is the duality again of Wanda. I promise you, duality is focusing and he is staying on topic. This is a shout out to my ex. Thank you for buying this for me. The reason why I loved WandaVision, it's so multifaceted and so multi-layered. Before I get too crazy into lore, if you like this kind of content, please follow, subscribe, comment, interact. Tell me who your favorite MCU character is. I am all ears, still learning. Hey, welcome to my lovely 9-part episode review of WandaVision. I'm Duality. I'm happy to have you guys here because Wanda Maximoff is a character that resonates with me so much. No matter what she does, she can never do what's right. It kind of starts back in the early introduction of Age of Ultron, where she was experimented on by Hydra to essentially gain special abilities. Before they could use the word mutant in the MCU, they used the word miracles. Side pivot, duality here. I want to go ahead and say that I'm so thankful that even though it's low-key a monopoly, I'm happy that all of the projects now are back with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as the MCU for those who aren't aware. But before, like in the early 90s, that's why you've seen so many iterations of the Fantastic Four. That's why we're trying to get like a main Blade. Everything was sold off. The only person that has still freedom is Spider-Man, and he is owned by Sony. Hence why we got the super awesome games from Sony. Shout out to that. And why we have Into the Spider-Verse and, soon to be the newest Into the Spider-Verse version. What I'll get to is this. I absolutely love Wanda because of everything she went through. She is a character that is introduced in Avengers Age of Ultron. She is in a pre-cut scene. I can't remember the movie before that, but she's doing her little wiggly woos. That's actually what they called it, because they never knew what to call it, the wiggly woos. So if you see that, that's what they deemed it in the script. It's like, okay. And she made it her own. Elizabeth Olsen is obviously the actress that plays Wanda, and she is the siblings, believe it or not, of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. She was on Fuller House, but the character resonates so well with me. I feel oftentimes misunderstood. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm not always coming out on top, and I forget sometimes how powerful I am. Well, what I'll share with you is she is the daughter of Magneto. I'm interested of how they're going to do, that type of situation, because for Doomsday, I know she's going to be in Doomsday. They haven't talked about it. They're not going to talk about it, but I know she's going to be in Doomsday. Before I get too crazy into lore, if you like this kind of content, please follow, subscribe, comment, interact. Tell me who your favorite MCU character is. I am all ears, still learning. The channel is growing. I want to make sure that you guys have content, and this is going to go on the podcast as well, because like I said, this is a 9-part series of WandaVision. So what I will share with you is the reason why I loved WandaVision. It's so multifaceted and so multi-layered, but I could go on forever about this topic. Short and sweet. Wanda is someone who essentially lost her parents. They were unalived by Tony Stark, and she and her brother Pietro were essentially at the mercy of a missile that essentially was going to go off, but did not. They signed up for a Hydra experiment. The Hydra experiment grants them powers because they were altered with the Mind Stone. From there, this is the part that gets a little bit more interesting. They figure out who Ultron is, and Ultron is brought together by who else? Tony Stark, at least in this iteration. I can't tell you in the comics where Ultron's from, but in the MCU, he's brought together by Tony Stark. And Jarvis is fighting the good fight. Now, you'll find out that Jarvis is actually Vision, and this is White Vision, no pun intended, but I don't have a Vision out of the box, so you'll have to bear with me. But this is White Vision from WandaVision, and this is Wanda from Civil War. Was a lot bigger in the comics. The purpose of Civil War was about the Sokovian records. What's the Sokovian records? Well, Wanda's actually, believe it or not, from Sokovia. It is essentially where the government deems what the Avengers can and can't do. Not the United States government, but essentially, hey, you guys can't attack this because of the catastrophic damage you're doing. You guys can't do this because of that. So it's really touch and go. And the reason why they created the Sokovia Accords was because of what happened with Ultron. Ultron kind of tried to create like mass destruction. And at first, Wanda was going with it until her brother Pietro got unalived. So we're 3-0 right now. Both her parents and now her brother have been unalived. And what are we doing here? So she sacrifices again. They're on a mission. It's really awesome. And again, this is where Civil War, where the Sokovia Records became a thing. But in Civil War, Captain America Civil War, they, sorry, Wanda does this thing where she essentially protects everyone, but inadvertently destroys a building and unalives probably 100 people. And she is sad from that moment, but the government doesn't look at it like that. They deem her as dangerous, so she essentially is like stuck away or stashed away in the Avengers compound, and Hawkeye has her, and Vision comes through. Basically, they're both on opposing sides, and it's just horrible. But one of the things that makes Vision so unique is that he's created from technology, and he's created from the Mind Stone. And the Mind Stone is one of the 6 Infinity Stones, and depending on the iteration, gem, what have you. This right here we'll get into. This is a shout out to my ex. Thank you for buying this for me. It is kind of funny, but it is a encyclopedia of all, and I mean all, heroes and villains, and specifically we'll get to the one about Scarlet Witch. So Scarlet Witch, real name Wanda Maximoff, aka Wanda Frank, Wanda Magnus, because we know who Magnus is. She's 5'7", roughly 130 pounds, but I'm like, that don't seem right, you know. And things that you can know about her powers: she possesses the ability to affect probability fields and cause unlikely events to occur. Could make objects spontaneously burst into flames, rust, or decay. Her hex bolts could deflect flying objects and disrupt energy transmissions or fields. However, recent evidence seems to indicate that the Scarlet Witch has lost her mutant powers. So again, in the MCU, they're trying to figure out if she is a mutant, is she a witch, is she this, is she that? Well, WandaVision kind of taps into that, and we're going to get into that without spoiling it, so that you guys watch this lovely 9-part series, because again, it's 9 episodes. Episode 1 was called Filmed Before a Live Studio Audience. It is weird. The MCU is a colorful place, and then we get non-Vision and Wanda in what I assumed originally was Bewitched, but it was the Dick Van Dyke Show. And we'll get into why that's like that later. But I thought it was cute, and it opened up with a nice little jingle. And I was like, okay, this is weird. A lot of people could not watch the first 2 episodes because the first 2 episodes were in black and white. And then they kind of changed it up. But again, we'll get to that. Staying on topic this time, I promise you. Duality is focusing, and he is staying on topic. You see that Wanda and Vision move into a town called Westview. WandaVision, W-E, flip it around, WandaVision. You know, I can't say the other thing because either way. There's a lot of things that happen, but for sure, one thing that happens that's interesting is the heart. Wanda knows what's going on, but she doesn't know what's going on fully because she is in denial. Believe it or not, this episode is cued about Wanda's denial. So specifically, having only just arrived in a wholesome community of Westview, New Jersey, Wanda Maximoff and her husband Vision struggle to fit in. So there are a few key characters in this, and then you have Wanda Maximoff, Vision, also known as Viz. Agnes is introduced, and we love a good. Agnes is played by Katherine Hahn. You have Mr. Hart and Mrs. Hart, and one thing that happens is the episode is filmed in black and white. Now, Vision is usually painted in purple, but it does not show very well. So, and this is something I knew from watching like different clips because I love learning about WandaVision specifically. They painted in blue. So in order for him to show up the deep purple hue that he usually is, they painted him blue when he did what he had to do. So there are some twists. So when Mr. Hart begins to choke on his food, his wife can't seem to help but repeat her plea to Wanda, stop it. As she does this, the format of the TV show breaks for just a moment, skewing to a much less comedic into something far darker. But then Vision uses his powers and saves his boss. Then everyone snaps back into reality, as if nothing had happened. Why is it that happened? We find out throughout this whole thing what happened, because in the first episode, we're watching it like, wow, you know, what happened here? Why? So they do have their powers, because she was doing the little bewitched things where it was like she'd do this, and they did practical effects where the item would fly through the air and so on and so forth. And you don't know who all of these characters are until later on in the season, and I can't wait for you guys to learn out more about what's going on. I will tell you that by far, WandaVision is one of my favorite series. It's a comfort series, and I can't wait to tell you guys more and more about it. This is going to happen over the next 9 weeks. You guys are going to get an episode per week, because why not? There may be other series that I'm going to talk about and other things I want to talk about, but Wanda Maximoff is near and dear to my heart. And then we'll actually talk about Multiverse of Madness, because that was another movie that she was in. Maybe we'll do a whole Wanda deep dive. But again, first starting with WandaVision, as you can see, this artwork, just to let you know, is by Tony Arts. I had an opportunity to meet him at Motor City Comic Con, and he actually signed a lot of my stuff. I bought his series. He is epically amazing. This right here is the duality, again, of Wanda, because we all have a little bit of a duality in us. I love this image. This is her in Westview, and this is her as Scarlet Witch. And Scarlet Witch is seemingly an alter ego of Wanda, but we'll get to that. So this has been Duality, and this has been my first episode of WandaVision review. Duality out. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.